Hi everyone, welcome to Let's Play Crashmo. I think I just bumped my mic, so I really hope that doesn't come through. Alrighty, so in this first part, we'll be going over the important lore and story details of the Crashmo universe. And on top of that, we'll also be doing the first 10 levels. So the basic way this game works is you have puzzles called Crashmo, and you're capable of moving portions of the blocks in full 3 dimensions within like a grid styling. So you can move it X, Y, or Z, and move it in increments of 1. So yeah. So for the lore this time, Mallow comes to visit the Papa Blocks, the fine, handsome fellow in purple. And also we meet the new character of this game, which we will see in the story. So first things first here, I have to go and make a file. Takes a couple seconds. I cut out putting in the name just to make it easier. So makes all the extra data for it, and we begin. So who's this new character in the Pushmo, Crashmo, Stretchmo universe? Well, we're about to find out. Okay, maybe not at this very moment, but like in this cutscene, there she is. Who could this random person be? This female-looking Mallow. Well, we still don't have any lore, so I can tell you. Oh, look, it's Poppy. That's her name. That's been her name the whole time, and she somehow flew in with like a bunch of birds. Cool. Whatever. So, yeah, I guess the implication here, it's never really explained in game, but I guess Mallow like thinks she's cute or is like attracted. I don't fucking know. They're weird little sumo cat people. I don't think that matters. But what does matter is Mallow was a buffoon doing his sumo stance and caused all the birds to fly away. So that's going to be our incentive for this game. We're going to need to find all the birds so that Poppy and Mallow can go back home. Well, it was really more Poppy than Mallow. So, another thing about this part is you might notice this part is about 12 and a half minutes or so. The only reason this part's going to be so long is because we're going through a lot of tutorials, unskippable ones at that. It's not like some other games where it's like, oh hey, you want to skip the tutorial? You already know this game? No, you have to sit through everything. But don't worry, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to stretch out commentary for these first 10, since these are very simple, and the only reason, like I said before, it's taking so long is because we have to hear Papa Blocks explain to us how the game works. And so I guess for this bit, I will just kind of express how I feel about Crashmo as a whole. So Crashmo is unbelievably it's just an unbelievably harder game in comparison to both Pushmo and its successor, Pushmo World and Stretchmo. The game, because you have this free 3D range, there's a lot more chances for mistakes, as well as blocks being able to fall. Yeah, so a thing to keep in mind. The one thing I have to really give praise to this game for is there's a lot of different ways of solving puzzles, and that doesn't just include the early puzzles, but also puzzles later on, which is pretty crazy. And I'm actually impressed by it, because there's a lot of really great puzzle games that I love that usually if there's an unintended solution, the developer will try to patch it out or something, or be like, oh no, you're not allowed to do that, and they might put something in the game to kind of penalize you for it. So I really do give respect to this game for allowing such open-ended approaches to solving these puzzles. Okay, so what is it? 4 minutes in, over 4 minutes in, and we have only done one puzzle. One whole puzzle. Yeah. So I hope this isn't too boring. Yeah, pretty much, I would say for this game, the first 70 puzzles are pretty reasonable. The last 30 of the main campaign, so it's cut up, there's 100 main levels and then 40 bonus levels. The 100 main levels, they say, are pretty fun. There's a couple really tough ones, kind of near late game, not a big deal. But, yeah. So I guess to explain a little bit more of the mechanics, right, as you're seeing here, I'm able to push and pull blocks. I can also slide them left and right, and do a lot of different movement with it. Unlike its predecessor, Pushmo, we're not stretching blocks in and out. We're working within the limitations of the block they've given us. So most blocks in this game are only ever, they only have a depth of 1, which I'm using depth as in like pushing away from you. So blocks always individual pieces only ever have a depth of 1, and then a different height and width to accommodate for that. So, yeah, as we're going to see here, yeah, we pretty much just move the block into the proper place, and we can get up there. This game, also unlike Pushmo, is very focused on this idea of really using the 3D space that you're given. And sometimes you might have the solution, but because you can't like perceive it in this 3D space, you might reset by complete mistake, which I do in a couple outtakes. I'm probably not going to like do a compilation of that or anything, but maybe I might, who knows. But the important thing is getting this game finished, because yeah, we need a guide. Yeah. So another big thing here is you can zoom in and out of the camera to see what's going on. You also have the touchscreen, which just gives you a general overall view of the main puzzle. For a lot of the puzzles, I try to make sure that I zoom out so you can see the whole puzzle. Some of the early ones here, I might have it a bit too zoomed in, but I do zoom it out at the end so you have an idea of what it's supposed to look like at the end. So yeah, another big mechanic, as I had alluded to earlier, was the fact that blocks can drop. So you have a supporting block underneath, and the second that is no longer there to support it, the block will drop. So it doesn't matter if the support underneath is particularly balanced. It just needs to be underneath the other block, otherwise it will drop down a level, or however many levels it was elevated. As you probably saw just by that puzzle. Goodness. I promise. A lot of parts from here are going to be a bit... actually, they're going to be about the same length. I hit my mic again. I do apologize if you hear that. Sorry. Okay, so... Right, so the other thing they're explaining here is, if you mess up, not a big deal. They have the big rewind, you have a rewind feature, which is in every single one of these games. Pushmo, Stretchmo, obviously Crashmo, and Pushmo World. You also have the reset button on the bottom there. There's actually one on the opposite side as well that you can use. I do use it a couple times, but it usually isn't super helpful since most puzzles always start on the side that you're at. Yeah, that's the basics of it. So pretty much once Papa Blocks here decides to go away, the actual game will start to go by a bit faster, especially for these first few, so... Excuse me. Right, so you can also press the R button in this game to get a full view of the map, regardless of what your zoom in is. And on top of that, you can press L to sort of look at particular spots when you're not 100% certain if everything is aligned correctly. This is a super useful tool and feature, and it's great. Also, when you're holding R, you can use the control stick to move around like the game's showing right now. I play around with it a bit here just to spam it. It's kind of funny. Yeah, you don't have to spam it. That's my Let's Player advice from a Crashmo professional, me, who does some of these in some very convoluted ways, which I will, when we get to those puzzles, I'll explain. So first off with these puzzles, they're a bit more abstract, but later on we'll be dealing with things that resemble like video game sprites, or certain types of shapes, or objects, animals. But that's not where we're at right now. Right now we're in the abstract, just getting the idea of how to move Pushmo around. So yeah, we get the cool Pushmo we get the cool bird with the afro. Apparently I thought the birds were called Pushmo, which is not. If you don't know what a Pushmo or a Crashmo is, or I guess in this case you need to know what a Crashmo is. A Crashmo are literally the puzzles that you are taking apart and moving. They're supposed to be like art exhibits, I think, in the context of the series. So yeah. Okay, so this is further pushing the load-bearing block. Another thing to keep in mind, right, is another mechanic is only the block that you're moving in most cases is going to move. So any block on top will usually stay in place and just slide over however much you push it, whether that be forward, backward, left, or right. Alright, so we got the cool mohawk bird. Each bird has like a neat little hairstyle. They do start to repeat as the levels go on and usually just change color to differentiate each other. There's actually a huge list, which I do show off near the end of the Let's Play in one of the bonus videos. But we're not there yet. We aren't there yet. Why am I even talking about bonus videos? Because, you know, I'm excited. So yeah, here's another aspect, right? If you have two separated blocks, but you have like a line block like there is there, you can push multiple pieces at the same time without any issue of the load-bearing block going away or something, a load-bearing block being removed or something like that. Yeah. So, oh goodness, seriously, the early game, especially like I guess from this sort of guide perspective, might seem a little boring, and it is, because it's just a lot of tutorials. You can't really skip. But they do generally get off of your case once this first world is done. They do have a couple explanations later on for some new mechanics that we haven't seen yet, but right now, you know, first world, they really want to hold your hand and make sure you understand how the Crashmo mechanics work. Alrighty, so is this the first one now, I think, where we get to do this on our own? I think this is where Papa Blocks is like, oh, Mallow, you're on your own now, kid. Okay, okay, no, he doesn't leave yet. He's just like, okay, I'm not going to hold your hand this time. Figure it out. But, like, if you have trouble, you can always talk to Papa Blocks to give you some advice. That's only really available in these early levels and in the training levels, which you have not yet to unlock. I'll talk about those more when we unlock the training levels. Alright, the last proper one. And believe it or not, even in Baby World 1, I mess up. I legit had to redo this one. You're going to see a cut here real quick. So, yeah, here's my cut. I reset it. So you're supposed to pull out the left block first, push it over, and then essentially push that block there to get a little staircase. Excuse me, sorry. And get to the top. So with that out of the way, that's the first 10 puzzles done, and I will see you in part 2.